Good afternoon. Ambassador Joel Hernandez, Chair of the Permanent Council and Permanent Representative of Mexico to the Organization of American States, Mr. Justin Resendiz, Secretary General of the 31st Model OAS General Assembly for High Schools, Mr. Jose del Rosario Cardona, President of the 31st Model OAS General Assembly for High School, Committee Chairs, Camille Rouland, Michael Liu, Derek Jan, Carter Blair, Vice Chairs, Zachary Wood, Madison Schreiber, Hope Irwin, and Ignacio Sanchez, faculty advisors, permanent and alternate representatives of the 31st MOAS for high schools. The Organization of American States is very pleased to welcome you to the 31st Model OAS General Assembly for high school students. And it is an honor to be here with you and share the beginning of what we expect will be a valuable experience of all of you. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank you for your dedication for this model. Especially, we would like to thank your faculty advisors and teachers who have supported you throughout this process. We all appreciate their commitments, and we are sure that all their efforts will be compensated when, in a near future, you become successful members of your communities with a strong sense of citizenship and better understanding of the Americas, with the skills to actively participate and make a real difference for the region. As you are aware, the MOAS program was created more than 30 years ago to promote democratic values among the youth of the hemisphere and the respect for human rights inspired by the principles of the Charter of the OAS and the Inter-American Democratic Charter adopted in 2001. Throughout this exercise, you will represent in this exercise 25 countries of the 34 OAS member states, and on their behalf, you will negotiate proposals and reach consensus in order to advance in peace, security, citizenship, integral development, and of course, human rights. We are very honored today to have here Ambassador Joel Hernandez, Chair of the Permanent Council of the OAS and Permanent Representative of Mexico since August 2011, who will share with us his experiences as a diplomat and that he has assumed with a great sense of responsibility to his country. Ambassador Hernandez has a law degree from the National Autonomous University of Mexico, the prestigious UNAM, and a master's degree in international law from the New York University. In the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he has been a legal advisor, a Director General for the United Nations System, alternate Consul of Mexico in New York, and alternate representative to the Office of the United Nations in Vienna, among other very high positions that he has occupied in, as I said, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico. I would like to give a welcome, the warmest welcome, Ambassador Hernandez, and obviously to, with a lot of respect, offer you the floor to this Model General Assembly. Thank you, Ambassador, for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jorge Zanin, Director of the Department of International Affairs of the OAS. Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Justin Resendiz, Secretary General of the 31st Model of the OAS. Mr. Jose del Rosario Cardona, President of the 31st Model OAS General Assembly for High Schools. Committee chairs and vice chairs, members of the OAS Secretariat here present, youth ambassadors, faculty advisors, and teachers. And I want to especially salute the Youth Ambassador of Mexico to the model of the OAS. I wish you every success in your endeavors and in the negotiations, and I'm sure you will play very distinctively the role of your ambassador of my country. And I'm very happy to welcome you this afternoon to this magnificent and historic Hall of the Americas. As Secretary General Jose Miguel Insulza likes to say, this is the home of the Americas. This is your home. And this is a very historic site indeed. At this very place, many general assemblies, sessions of the General Assembly of the OAS have taken place, more or less in the format where you are sitting now. At the same time, at this very same place, the meeting of consultation of Ministry of Foreign Affairs from time to time have gathered to discuss important matters for our hemisphere, precisely the way you are sitting now. And beyond that, at this very place, historical events have happened. Just to mention a few, the Canal of Panama treaties were signed here, something that you as Americans and I as a Mexican are very familiar with. The NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, also was signed at this at this hall. So we are here surrounded by history, but also we are surrounded by the spirit of the Organization of American States, an organization which was founded in 1948 as part of the United Nations system, as a regional organization to promote peace and security in our region, as a regional organization to deal with matters that may threaten international peace and security to be dealt with first by this institution before submitting those conflicts to the attention of the UN Security Council. But throughout the years, this whole organization has grown up with history and with the development of our hemisphere. Throughout the years, this organization has acquired new mandates given by member states. It began with a young, enthusiastic organization with 21st founding member states. And later on, when the world advanced in the process of the decolonization, 30 new countries from the Caribbean joined the organization. More recently, Canada joined the organization as the 34th member state, and at that moment, this organization became truly hemispheric. Throughout the years, this organization has made big endeavors to promote human rights, democracy, security, and integral development in our regions. There are concrete results of the work that this organization has done, that it goes very much into the direct life of the inhabitants of this hemisphere. Just to mention a few. The organization negotiated and adopted an American Convention on Human Rights, which is the paramount instrument dealing with human rights in our region, which established the highest standards of protection and promotion of human rights. The organization has also developed an inter-American system of human rights composed by two bodies, the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. That has opened up the possibilities for population to bring claims for violation of human rights to the attention of these Inter-American bodies. And the results are very concrete. Throughout its decision and sentences, the life of many people have been changed, setting standards at the national level for the promotion of human rights in our region. But this organization has also played an important role in promoting integral development through very concrete projects that this organization promotes in several member states. Yes, the organization now is part of a very complex hemispheric system of American organization. But this organization remains unique in the sense that this is the only place where all 34 member states of the hemisphere can sit and talk to each other, face to face, the same manner that you are sitting now, in order to deal with matters that are of concern of all the hemisphere. Who can deny the hemispheric nature of migration? Migration is a reality in all the world, but also it has peculiarities in our hemisphere. Migration which moves from south to north, but also it goes through many of our countries and posing new challenges for the development of our countries with the integration of migrants into our daily life and into our economy. Who can deny the hemispheric nature of one of the scourges that this hemisphere is now dealing? And for that I'm referring to smuggling of drugs, a problem that now the hemisphere is facing with very, very high costs for many countries, like my country who has spent lots of resources and have spared the life of many Mexicans in fighting against criminal organized crime. But these problems are not the problem of one single country, are the problem of a region. And as such, they have to be treated at regional level throughout this hemispheric. This is just to mention a very, very few examples on what the work of our organization is doing. And I am particularly satisfied to attest that a group of 18 high schools which now have been organized in 25 delegations representing various member states of our organization. Now, also I understand for the first time, 2 delegations for Colombia have also joined this exercise, and I congratulate them for this initiative. This is an opportunity for you to live the sense of the OAS, for you to know how member states with different views but with common goals can put their objectives together and reach consensus. Such an easy word to pronounce, consensus in English, consensus in Spanish, consensus in French, but so difficult to achieve, because consensus means the general willing of all member states united around a common cause. This is the challenge that delegations face every day at this organization, but this is also the basis for the international organization and for the promotion of peace and security in the world. I would be very satisfied, and I'm concluding now, that when you go back to your high schools, when you go back to your communities, and when you are asked what you want to be when you grow up, you can all say, I want to be the ambassador of my country to the Organization of American States. And I want to congratulate your teachers and your faculty advisors for taking these initiatives, for bringing you to Washington, D.C., to this magnificent site, and share the experience of the Organization of American States. With this, I conclude, wishing you every success in your deliberations and in your endeavors. May you reach consensus rapidly and substantially. I wish you all the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 31st session of the Model OAS. I would like to start off by thanking the MOAS Director, Nellie Robinson, who puts so much time and effort into this model every year, and Luis Consuegra and the OAS staff, who have worked tirelessly so that we may have resolutions to discuss this week. If you get the chance to talk with these dedicated professionals this week, please make sure to thank them. In addition, I would like to thank Mr. Jorge Sanin and Ambassador Joel Hernandez for their inspiring words. Finally, thank you to all the moderators and MOAS participating students. We are gathered here today in a celebration of democracy. In this very building, world leaders from the OAS gather to solve the problems facing our hemisphere through cooperation and open debate. I challenge all of you to embrace these values this week. As this model reflects the procedure of the OAS, so should you strive to reflect the example set by the OAS ambassadors and staff. Over the next few days, we will tackle numerous problems in our hemisphere. These range from strengthening the social and economic status of women through the development of entrepreneurial programs in the Americas, to adopting new technologies as a means to reduce expenditures in personal communications, travel, and facilities within the OAS General Secretariat. These are real-world obstacles with which the great minds of our time wrestle. You have 4 days to overcome them. Delegates, last year in her closing speech, my predecessor encouraged you to be like a sponge at the model and absorb everything around you. I like the metaphor. However, I believe the model is the sponge, not you. Do not passively absorb what happens. Go out and wring every drop from this model to maximize this unique opportunity. This experience will be whatever you make it. I encourage you to celebrate democracy through open debate and cooperation, and make this a magnificent model. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Resendi, and thank you also, Ambassador, for both of you and your thoughtful remarks. Now we would like to pass the floor to Mr. Jose del Rosario Cardona from St. John's School, President of the 31st MOAS for high schools.
Thank you. When I contemplate this immense reunited country, my soul mounts to that height demanded by the colossal perspective of a picture so wonderful. My imagination takes flight towards future ages and admiringly observes from them the prosperity, the splendor, and the life which will exist within this vast territory. I see it serve as the bond, as the center, as the emporium of the human race. I see it disclosing its precious secrets to the sages who know that the store of knowledge is more valuable than the store of riches, which nature has so prodigally bestowed upon us. I see it seated upon the throne of liberty, the scepter of justice in its hand, crowned by glory, showing to the old world the majesty of the new world. Simón Bolívar, liberator of America. Good afternoon, delegates, authorities, moderators, staff, and guests. My name is Jose Rosario, and I will be serving as president of this year's 31st MOAS General Assembly. I would like to give you a warm welcome to what will surely be an enlightening and memorable experience. This conference serves to raise awareness of and foster support for the work of the OAS, which is helping our hemisphere move forward. The OAS is a mechanism for change and progress in the Americas. Its actions improve the quality of life of the citizens of both continents. This year's topics range from how to instill democracy in the youth of the Americas and incorporating technology in governmental affairs to preventing drug abuse in children and adolescents all over the hemisphere. As ambassadors of your schools and your respective member states, each and every one of you has the duty of faithfully representing your delegation's ideals and, most importantly, drafting long-lasting solutions that will contribute to the diverse array of issues presented in the committees of this conference. At this moment, I would like to recognize the work that my fellow MOAS authorities have invested in the preparation for this conference. I would especially like to acknowledge the Department of International Affairs of the OAS, who have worked and contributed tirelessly in making this conference possible. If you have any questions or concerns during the committee sessions or any other moment during the conference, feel free to approach the Secretary General, any member of the staff of this conference, or myself. Best of luck in these next 3 days of debate, and remember to enjoy this unique experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now we would like to invite, before we conclude this welcoming ceremony, we would like to invite the President of the OAS Permanent Council, Ambassador Hernandez, to pass the gavel to the President of the model of the OAS. Ambassador Hernandez.
Mr. President, I am passing on to you this gavel, which represents the responsibility you will now assume in order to conduct business of the General Assembly. This means that you will have now the responsibility to conduct discussions, to come to agreement, to reach consensus on proposals in favor of peace and security of the peoples of the Americas. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Many thanks, Ambassador. Many thanks, President, Secretary General. Now we conclude this ceremony, and we will continue. And please give us 5 minutes to accompany Ambassador Hernandez and to leave the room. And we thank you again, Ambassador Hernandez, for your kind words, for your thoughtful words, and for your inspiring words. Thank you again. Thank you, all of you.
Good afternoon, delegates. My name is Nelly Robinson. I'm the coordinator of the MOAS program here at the Department of International Affairs of the OAS, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this House of the Americas after these very inspiring and interesting speeches that we have heard. Now it's time to start our work. I would like to talk to you just a very few moments about some logistical and some tips, giving you some tips for your work during the next 3 days. We have been very busy here evaluating, reviewing the resolutions that you all have sent to us, and we are very pleased that you have put so much effort and enthusiasm in writing these resolutions. We hope that you continue working very much as you have been doing so far. And right now, I just wanted to give you a few pointers, if you may, about your participation. You all have noticed that we have made a few adjustments and changes to the program as compared to last year's. The main change that you will have this year is the new set of rules of procedure. We have consolidated all the instructions, and we have reviewed a few of the rules of procedure that we are sure that you have already read. Mainly, I would like to point out 2 things. We have put a lot of emphasis this year in working groups. You all have received your evaluations, and many of your resolutions have been placed in working groups. To facilitate the work of your working groups, we have modified the first session on Thursday. Tomorrow is actually called the 3rd session of the committees. So from 9 to 10:30, you are going to have the time and the space to meet with your working groups and discuss and negotiate your resolutions. At this meeting of the working groups, you are going to be in your committee rooms, and you're going to break down in your groups. You can also use the designated working group rooms, and both the head delegate and the alternate are going to participate in those discussions. So that's going to be tomorrow from 9 to 10:30. But before that, this afternoon, we have the first meeting of the committees, and on the second meeting of the committees, around 4 this afternoon, every committee is going to have the general statements by each of the delegates. So I just wanted to remind you about that. We have sent correspondence about that, so I hope that you are all prepared to give the short statements from your country perspective about the topic of the agenda that you have written your resolution about. So that's going to happen in every committee. Each head delegate should have his or her statement ready, and it's going to be conducted according to the order of precedence. Another thing that that we're going to do after this short orientation, we're going to have a mock session. It's a short mock session that we wanted to put together with the help of a few delegations since we are all here, this is the only time we are all going to be together in one room until our last session, until our closing ceremony. So this is the time, we think, to do a mock session, so more or less that everybody follows and sees how the debates are going to take place in each of the committees. We wanted to tell you also that if you have any question, any comment, any suggestion, please come to us. Here's my colleague, Luis Consuegra. Luis Consuegra and I have been working very hard for this model, and we're very happy that you are here, and we want that you feel comfortable and that you take advantage of this opportunity. Our intern, Pamela, she was downstairs. You all have met her. She was in the registration table. So if you have anything that you need to be answered, just contact any of us. We are going to be here for you to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. So with that, and also finally I want to thank your faculty advisors, all of them that have worked with you so hard and have made it possible for these 25 delegations, 25 countries to come here to meet here at the OAS. We're very pleased, and I'm very happy to have you all here. Again, to those returning schools, we welcome the new schools and the new students, and we wish you lots of luck. Now, with this, I hope that the delegations of Suriname, Brazil, let me see, the delegations of Suriname, Brazil, and Colombia, and Nicaragua are ready to help us with the mock session. So what we're going to do, we're going to proceed with the mock session. You all have the script in front of you. There are a few delegations that are going to be active, but at the time of voting, we would like you to vote according to what you think your country would vote. Just follow the script, and when it's time to vote, just you vote according to what you think that your country should do, and then the president will act accordingly. Okay? So we are going to the excitement is just going to begin, so I invite you to proceed with the mock session, and I ask our president to begin, and the secretary of the General Committee. Also, I would like to invite him to help our president. There's just one more thing that I almost forgot. We don't have, the vice president of the General Committee couldn't come to this meeting. It was a justified reason, so we are going to proceed according to the rules of procedure to elect the vice president of the General Committee. That's going to happen during the first first session of the General Committee this afternoon. But Mr. President, I'm sure that he's going to know how to handle that, and he has the rules of procedure, so he's going to guide all you delegates in that respect. So thank you very much, and we're going to proceed with the mock session.
At this moment, I request that the Committee Secretary of the General Committee please come to the table. Oh. Yes, I have the copy. I can get it. At this moment, we will begin with the mock session of the General Committee. At this moment, we will verify attendance. Secretary, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. With 25 member states present, we have quorum. Majority will be 13 votes, and 2/3 will be 17.
Thank you, Secretary. We will proceed with the presentation of the draft resolution toward the establishment of priorities on the youth of the Americas, presented by the delegation of Suriname. All delegations have already received a copy of the draft resolution. Secretary, please proceed in reading the proposed draft resolution.
Resolution 2553. Towards the establishment of priorities on the youth of Americas. Resolves. 1. To continue to attach a high priority to youth development in the Americas, and to take all necessary steps to mainstream the youth perspective into the programs and activities of the Organization of American States. 2. To follow with attention and to support the World Youth Conference, which will be held in León, Guanajuato, Mexico, from August 23rd to 27th, 2010. 3. To request the General Secretariat to compile and present to a joint meeting of the Permanent Council and Permanent Executive Committee of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development the results of the Special Caribbean Community Summit on Youth Development, the Pre-Conference of the Americas, and the World Youth Conference, and initiate consultations with member states on the implementation of said priorities. 4, to request the Permanent Council and CEP-CIDI to consider the possibility of convening an Inter-American Meeting of Ministers and highest authorities responsible for youth before the 41st regular session of the General Assembly, to be held in 2011. Taking into account the report by the General Secretariat containing the compilation of priorities and the results of the consultation process. 5,
to further request the General Secretariat to pursue collaboration and partnerships on youth development issues with member states, as well as regional and international organizations. 6, to request the General Secretariat to report to the General Assembly at its 41st regular session on the implementation of this resolution, the execution of which shall be subject to the availability of financial resources in the program budget of the organization and other resources.
Thank you, Secretary. The delegation of Suriname has the floor to present the resolution.
Thank you, Chair. Our resolution proposes to take the necessary action to advance youth development through a multi-sectoral and participatory approach within the programs and activities of the organization, and to essentially guarantee the participation of the youth in the political dialogue. Also, this delegation requests that we consider holding an inter-American meeting of ministers and highest authorities responsible for youth to discuss and establish the priorities on the youth of the Americas, and also invites all member states to support this resolution as it highlights the importance of youth development in the Americas.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is now open for any questions, comments, support, or amendments for the resolution presented by the delegation of Suriname. Those delegates that would like to speak, please raise your placards. The delegation of Colombia has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Colombia agrees with this resolution that gives high priority to youth development in the Americas and provides for collaboration with regional and international forums on youth priorities. The delegation of Colombia urges all member states to support this resolution.
The delegation of Nicaragua has presented an amendment to the resolution proposed by the delegation of Suriname. The delegation of Nicaragua has the floor to present the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Nicaragua would like to propose the suppression of any reference to the commitment of Port of Spain in this resolution, as this delegation considers that many matters were still under discussion and unresolved at the time of that commitment.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is now open for questions, comments, or support for the amendment presented by the delegation of Nicaragua. Those delegates that would like to speak, please raise your placards. The delegation of Brazil has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Our delegation does not agree with the amendment presented by the delegation of Nicaragua, because the commitment of Port of Spain is a document relevant to the topic of the resolution. It establishes that young people are integral to the development of our societies, thus reinforcing our commitment to continue the implementation of policies and programs aimed at the youth of the Americas.
Thank you, Delegate. Would the delegation of Nicaragua like to respond?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Our delegations agree with the fact that the commitment of Port of Spain reinforces our commitment to the youth of the Americas, but it also includes other issues that need further consideration. Our delegation considers that it would be enough to refer to the delegation of Medellin on youth and democratic values of 2008 for the purposes of the resolution at issue.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any more delegations wishing to speak? Seeing none, at this time I will ask if there are any objections to the amendment presented by the delegation of Nicaragua. The delegation of Brazil objects. Therefore, we will proceed to vote on the amendment proposed by the delegation of Nicaragua. Those delegations in favor, please raise your placards. Those delegations against, please raise your placards. Any abstentions? With 3 votes in favor and 19 votes against and 1 abstention, this amendment does not pass. The delegation of Nicaragua has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Nicaragua would like to express that our government agrees with the spirit of this resolution, but requests the inclusion of a footnote regarding the reference made in the preamble of the Declaration of Commitment of Port of Spain, to record its reservation to the upfront declaration, since it addressed several matters insufficiently.
Thank you, Representative. I would appreciate that your delegation forwards the text of the footnote to be included in the resolution. We will now continue with the debate on the resolution presented by the delegation of Suriname. Are there any more delegations wishing to speak? Seeing none, are there any objections to the resolution titled "Toward the Establishment of Priorities on the Youth of the Americas"? Seeing that no delegation objects, this resolution passes by consensus. Congratulations, delegates. The mock session is now over. We will now proceed to establish the order of presidents of the delegations. The first delegation on the order of presidents is Suriname. This order will be used for the voting and seating order in all of the preparatory committees in the General Assembly. The list begins with Suriname and will continue in alphabetical order. At this moment, we will continue with approval of the instructions for debate. The Secretary will now read Article 52 of the Rules of Procedure for its approval afterwards. Secretary, please proceed in the lecture of Article 52 of the Rules of Procedure, the instructions for debate.
Article 52. The debate of each draft resolution is conducted as follows. A. The committee secretary reads the proposal's title and operative clauses. B. The representative of the working group presenting the proposal or the delegate of the country presenting the individual proposal offers a speech to introduce it. C. The chair opens the floor for the intervention of the delegates, who can ask questions, offer comments, either for or against the resolution, or propose amendments. D. The committee secretary drafts a speakers list of the delegations that requested the floor. E. The chair calls and gives the floor to the speakers as they appear on the list. F. When applicable, the chair calls for a vote on the proposed amendments. G. The chair calls for a vote on the proposal being debated, as amended or as originally presented. H. The chair announces the results of the vote, which determines whether the proposal passes or is rejected.
Are there any objections to the instructions for the debate? Seeing none, the instructions for debate pass by consensus and will be used in all the preparatory committees of this conference. At this moment, we will proceed with approval of the agenda of topics. Taking account that all delegates have read the agenda of topics, we will proceed with this approval. All those delegations who object to the agenda of topics. Seeing none, the agenda of topics passes by consensus. At this moment, we'll proceed with approval of the schedule of events. Taking account that all delegates have read the schedule of events, we will now proceed with this approval. Are there any objections to the current scheduled events? Seeing none, the scheduled events passes by consensus. At this moment, this General Assembly is dismissed, and each delegation will go to their own preparatory committees in the OAS General Services Building. You will have from 3:30 to 4 p.m. to go to your committees. The General Assembly will remain in the Hall of the Americas for the first session. Thank you. At this moment, we'll verify attendance. Secretary, please proceed.
Argentina?
Present with alternate.
All right. Bahamas?
Present with alternate.
Barbados? Not present. All right. Bolivia?
Present and voting.
Brazil?
Present with alternate.
Canada?
Present.
Chile? Chile? Colombia?
Present with alternate.
Costa Rica?
Present with alternate.
Ecuador? El Salvador?
Present with alternate.
United States?
Present with alternate.
Guatemala?
Present with alternate.
Haiti?
Present with alternate.
Honduras?
Present with alternate.
Mexico?
Present with alternate.
Nicaragua?
Present with alternate.
Paraguay?
Present with alternate.
Peru?
Present with alternate.
Dominican Republic?
Present with alternate.
St. Lucia?
Present with alternate.
Suriname?
Present with alternate.
Trinidad and Tobago?
Present with alternate.
Uruguay?
Present.
Venezuela? All but two.
How many are present?
They're on there's 23 present. We have quorum.
Thank you, Secretary. At this moment, I will begin with the opening statement, and then we will proceed with other functions which are all found in the program. So if you guys follow the program, you guys will know what we're doing. Okay. So, hello, my name is Jose Rosario. As you guys know, I will be your General Committee Chair, and at this moment, I would like to clarify some of the changes that are happening in this MOAS. For me, this MOAS is particularly special because it's changing. It's more of a debate. It's more of something that they want to reach consensus between the countries. Before, it was more structured. It was, after the presentation of a resolution, there were 2 questions asked and 2 con speeches and 2 pro speeches, and there wasn't much space for actual trying to lobby so that everyone is in favor of the resolution that is being passed. So at this moment, I will read Article 52, which stipulates, well, the Secretary will read it, which stipulates how the presentation of resolutions will happen. And then I will comment on the changes so you guys are all aware of the changes that are happening in this conference.
Article 52.
Please, Secretary, read Article 52.
Article 52. The debate of each draft resolution is conducted as follows. A. The committee secretary reads the proposal's title and operative clauses. B. The representative of the working group presenting the proposal or the delegate of the country presenting the individual proposal offers a speech to introduce it. C. The chair opens the floor for intervention of the delegates who can ask questions, offer comments, either for or against the resolution, or propose amendments. D. The committee secretary drafts a speakers list of the delegations that requested the floor. E. The chair calls and gives the floor to the speakers as they appear on the list. F. When applicable, the chair calls for a vote on the proposed amendments. G, the chair calls for a vote on the proposal being debated as amended or as originally presented. H, the chair announces as the result of the vote, which determines whether the proposal passes or is rejected.
Thank you. This means that right after our resolution is presented, I will open the floor for questions, comments, anything. And anybody can raise their placard. The speakers list this year is unlimited, so anybody can extend it at any point, and it will be written down. So, for example, if Nicaragua and Bolivia raise their placard only, they speak, but later it can be extended. The point of this is that everyone talks and everyone gets their viewpoints across, and you actually reach consensus. Also, you can bear in mind that if the chair finds that the topic has been exhausted or there's nothing, it's being repetitive and the questions are redundant, then I can stop the debate. And we move on to the next resolution. So please try to be as constructive as possible and ask the most constructive questions, the best pro speeches you can give, and all of that. Also, right now, I would like to inform you guys that at the moment we have no vice chair, and after we present the authorities in this committee and the experts give the review on the resolutions, we will pass to a decision on what we're going to do with the vice chair. So right now, I would like to present the MOAS General Committee authorities. As you guys know, I'm the chair, and my name is Jose Rosario, and the secretary will present himself.
My name's Chris. I'm the secretary.
Yes, and then after, once we have the vice chair, we will have the person that is elected present themselves. Yes, and right now we have an expert that will talk to us about the resolutions. Her name is Amanda Caldeira, and I believe she represents the Inter-American Commission of Women. So she will be talking to us about the resolutions you guys have presented pertaining to topic 2. And as you guys know, the MOAS program coordinator, Mrs. Nellie Robinson, will be speaking to us on the resolutions that were written pertaining to topic 1. And at this moment, I will give the floor to Mrs. Nellie Robinson that will talk to us about the resolutions on topic 1. Her first? Okay, so Amanda Caldeira, who represents the Inter-American Commission on Women, will talk about what she thinks are the problems or what you guys can fix pertaining to the resolutions that have to do with topic 2. Amanda Caldeira, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, first, on behalf of the Executive Secretary of the Inter-American Commission of Women, Ambassador Carmen Moreno, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the first session of the OAS General Assembly's General Committee. And as the main hemispheric policy generating forum for the promotion of women's human rights and gender equalities in the America, the CIM was very pleased that among so many important issues to be debated, the General Committee has chosen to focus on strengthening the social and economic status of women through the development of entrepreneurial programs in the America as one of its topics. As some of your delegations might have been aware, the Inter-American Program on the Promotion of Women's Human Rights and Gender Equity and Equality, adopted by the OAS General Assembly in 2000, highlights among its objectives the need to promote the full and equal participation of women in all aspects of economic, social, political, and cultural development, and to promote gender equity and equality in women's human rights by strengthening and fostering women's full and equal access to the benefits of economic, social, political, and cultural development. And in order to achieve these goals, fostering women's entrepreneurship is definitely key. Your resolutions that have been presented thus far, they have addressed some very important issues when dealing with this topic, such as, for example, the promotion of capacity building for women entrepreneurs, access to credit, the role of micro, small, and medium enterprises, and the importance of education for girls and young women. And I'd like to commend all the delegations for that. And also, I would like to point out that a lot of progress has been made in this specific field. However, a lot still remains to be done. I would like to ask you to, during your discussions, during the debates, and while you are in your working groups, working on trying to improve your resolutions, you also take into account a few important issues, such as, for example, that women still face many barriers when it comes to access to financial resources, and in order to promote their entrepreneurial initiatives, it is fundamental to guarantee that they have access to adequate funding. It is also important to note that women's use and appropriation of information and communications technology is still rather low comparative to that of men, and in today's tech-savvy world, access to technology is essential. Equally as important is guarantee an environment in which micro, small, and medium enterprises have the necessary conditions to develop and prosper, and also promoting the establishment of networks for women entrepreneurs through which they can exchange experiences and best practices, as well as have access to tools that will contribute to their empowerment is of fundamental importance. So I will be here with you over the next few days in case you need any assistance or further guidance with your proposals, or even with more information or background information about previous OAS mandates and initiatives that have been carried out. So do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or if I can help you in any ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Caldeira. Please bear in mind that she will be helping all of those that have resolutions of topic 2. Today, I would like to inform that we do not have a book of resolutions, so after the opening statements by the head delegates, you guys will be working on the working groups, and they will be here, the experts, to help you guys finish those resolutions, and hopefully tomorrow, or today, they will be submitted to the Resolution Evaluation Committee, and we will receive those as soon as possible to begin the debate of those draft resolutions. So right now, Mrs. Nellie Robinson will have the floor to speak about the topic 1 resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon again. Yes, I just wanted to mention that on topic 1, I assigned 2 working groups, and I'm expecting 2 resolutions back from Guatemala, one from Guatemala and one from Trinidad and Tobago that were returned for corrections. And the working groups that, just a few words about the dynamics of the working groups. There are a few resolutions that were very similar, and there were probably 1 or 2 that were not very, very similar to the other ones in that working group, but the way that we worked this out is because we thought that these resolutions could be adapted and complemented to propose a more thorough or a more complete activity than the one that was proposed just by 1 or 2 of those. So what we would like you to do is to work together. It's not that you are going to get the clauses from the 5 resolutions and put one after the other. What we need is that you debate and that you construct clauses according to what you are proposing. Every resolution had good proposals. Some had more adventurous ideas than others, to say the least. But you know, it's good. It's good that we have all these ideas, and please work towards finding a common ground in putting together a joint resolution, always keeping in consideration the policies and the interests of the countries that you are representing, trying to find a common ground and a middle point, a compromise where you can feel comfortable presenting that resolution. One thing that I noticed in this in this topic. This topic is the promotion of democratic values among the youth of the Americas through non-conventional hands-on activities and special events. There were a few special events proposed. There was one very interesting that is one of the working groups, that is the celebration of the Day of Democracy, and that's a good working group. I reminded those delegations that there's already a Day of Democracy proposed and that is being celebrated by the United Nations. So what I proposed is that you promote the celebration of that day that had already been put forward by the United Nations in each of the countries, because that's what the spirit of what I think the resolution wanted to do. And there's many things that can be done with that. As a celebration, you can have the sports activities, the cultural activities, many workshops and seminars, and you can put everything together there and make a very good and very interesting resolution. That doesn't mean that all the countries have to do every single thing that is written in that resolution, but maybe one country feels better, more comfortable or more equipped to do the sports activities, and the other, another of those activities that you are going to propose. Just try to be realistic, you know, on what could be done and what cannot be done, and especially something that we need to do in any resolution in any topic is the source of financing. Remember that you cannot propose to do activities and do, even if you do a tournament, everything needs to be financed somehow. You cannot propose in the resolution that these activities that are going to be celebrated in the countries be financed by the OAS, because the OAS doesn't have the funds to do that. If the OAS is involved in doing these activities, then the OAS will do that, but the OAS will need funding to hire the experts, to create and to write the projects, the feasibility studies, and even the travels for the experts. So everything needs funding, and I put a few links in the resolutions where you can explore contributions by permanent observers. There is a link to the page of the permanent observers that have been helping many of the projects of the OAS so much, or also you can get help from some of the member states that have similar programs in their countries. So try to look beyond what you are telling the countries to do, but be able to give the countries an idea and a tool for them to be able to implement this, the OAS and the countries. We are going to be here to help you in whatever you need. We can talk to you. We are going to be in the REC beginning tomorrow. Right now, I think there are some of the experts already in the REC, but with you, we're going to be there tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. That's all I have to say, and we're going to continue with the programs. Thank you.
At this moment, we will proceed to a question and answer session. You may ask questions to the MOAS consultants on their agenda topics pertaining to their area of expertise. So, for example, you may ask questions to Mrs. Robinson about topic 1 resolutions, and you may ask questions to Mrs. Caldeira about topic 2 resolutions. Are there any questions for the MOAS consultants? Seeing none, we will proceed to the next topic of the agenda. At this moment, we will continue to a decision of the Vice Chair. I will read to you what the rules of procedure say about the Vice Chair and what has to be done in the case of the absence. I would also like to clarify that the rules of procedure only talk about a temporary absence, and the absence that we have in this committee is a permanent absence because the Vice Chair that was elected cannot make it to the competition for the whole competition. So it's not temporary because the person had a justifiable excuse. I'll read to you the Secretary will read to you Article 23 of the Rules of Procedure. If you have them, you can follow along.
Article 23. In this preparatory committees, the Vice Chair will assume the functions of the President in his absence. In this case, the position of Vice Chair will be temporarily assumed by the delegate of the first country in the order of precedence. The temporary Vice Chair may not act in representation of his country.
Having said this, the temporary Vice Chair would be the head delegate of Suriname, but we have to put that to a vote. So we will do the following. The President proposes that the Chief Delegate of Suriname assume the position of Vice Chair. If there is any objection to this, then we'll pass to a volunteer voting procedure. So at this moment, I will ask, first, does the head delegate of Suriname, would they accept to be Vice Chair of this committee?
The delegation of Suriname would like to respectfully withdraw from the running for this position.
Okay, so in that case, we will accept volunteers that are willing to take on the term of Vice Chair of the General Committee. Please, Secretary, write this down. Before we take the candidates, I will read the functions of the Vice Chair.
Article 24. A, the Vice Chair of the General Committee will replace the MOAS President in his absence. B, in addition to the regular responsibilities of all the Vice Chairs, they receive the draft proposals of the MOAS Declaration and select the best drafts to create the working group for the MOAS Declaration in consultation with the Committee Chair and Secretary. C, the Vice Chair of the General Committee conducts the working group in charge of drafting the MOAS Declaration. He must be familiar with the structure of the declarations approved during recent OAS assemblies.
The way that we are going to do the voting procedure is that each candidate will pass on to the front and say why they should be Vice Chair, and then we will pass to a simple majority vote. So at this moment, we will take the candidates that are willing to be Vice Chair, and tonight they may read the rules of procedure, their functions, and tomorrow they would vote. So today they will assume the function, but tomorrow they will be well prepared for their job as Vice Chair. Delegations that are willing to be wanting to be Vice Chair of the General Committee, please raise your placards. The delegations are Argentina and Costa Rica. So at this moment, we will give the floor to a delegate of Argentina that will explain why he is the best candidate for Vice Chair, and after that, we will give the floor to a delegate of Costa Rica to do the same. Delegate of Argentina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Over the past few years, I've been more involved in the Model OAS along with other models, and through this experience, I've learned many things about these models and how they proceed and how to run them successfully. As Vice Chair, I would have to replace the Chair if he were to go absent, and I believe that I can do an adequate job, if not an outstanding job, of replacing him in his absence. Thank you.
Thank you. The delegate of Costa Rica now has the floor to present why they should be Vice Chair.
Esteemed colleagues, hello, my name is Lisette Escobar, and I am the delegate from Costa Rica. I just wanted to tell you a little about myself. Last year, I was here at the Model Organization of American States Conference, acting as an observer and I'm currently the Vice President of the Maryland Association of Student Councils and the CEO of the International Youth Dynamics Foundation, so I do know how to run a meeting and how to run it effectively. I'd appreciate your vote. I'll try to my best of my ability to fulfill this position, and as well as the chair has previously stated, we do have time to read over tonight because I don't feel that anyone was prepared at all to take hold of this position because they did not know it was open due to the election was held last year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Costa Rica. At this moment, we are preparing for the election process, and the Secretary will read how elections are conducted in the MOAS plenary session and for the chairs and vice chairs of the committees. It is Article 77, if you would like to follow on.
Article 77. Elections are conducted by secret ballot except when authorities of the Model OAS General Assembly or of its committees are elected by acclamation. Elections by acclamation occur when all the delegates vote in favor of the candidate. If there is one delegation against the candidate, the election is by majority. Under no circumstances will the elections be conducted by a roll call vote.
Thank you. At this moment, we'll be waiting for the election materials to arrive. We are going to do a secret ballot, so please wait while we prepare for this election. Thank you. Once the paper is passed, the secret ballot is passed, you will write the name of the delegation. So if you wish the delegate of Argentina to take on the role of vice president, you'll write Argentina. If you wish the delegate of Costa Rica to take the role of vice chair, you'll write Costa Rica. Delegates, please remember that this is conducted by a secret ballot, so once you receive your ballot, you write the name and you fold it and you will give it to the committee clerk once all the ballots are written. Thank you. At this moment, we have received the ballots, so we will count them first to make sure that we have 23, and then we will go on with the process of seeing who is the new vice chair. Well, I've counted 22 ballots, so we are missing one ballot. Okay, we will count them, and the majority, the one that receives the majority, is elected. So, I will read aloud the ballots so that the secretary can take a tally. Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Argentina, 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 Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Argentina, Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Argentina, Argentina, Costa Rica, Argentina, 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 Costa Rica, Costa Rica, Argentina. This is done by a simple majority, so the candidate that receives. Okay. So with this is done by a simple majority. The candidate that receives 13 votes is the winner, or more. Delegates, we have a tie, so that means that we have to go to Article 78 of the Rules of Procedure. Since there are only 2 candidates, the procedure says that we have to do a revote. We vote again. So we will do the process of voting again, and the secret ballots will be passed again. The Secretary will now read Article 78 so that everyone can be informed of what will happen if there is a tie again.
Article 78. In cases when only one person is to be elected and no candidate obtains the vote of the majority of the member states on the first vote, a second and, if necessary, a third round of votes will be taken. The second round is limited to the 2 candidates receiving the largest number of votes during the first round.
Thank you, Secretary. This time we will have to have all 23 ballots to proceed with voting, the counting of. Thank you. At this moment, I will count. Okay. The Secretary has just informed me that there are 22 delegations present, so effectively there were 22 secret ballots, and all the ballots were here. To make sure that all 22 ballots are in the box, I will count them out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So right now I will count them again and put them in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. I realized that there was one small ballot inside another one, so that is what happened. At this moment, I will proceed to read aloud the votes and announce the candidate that wins for Vice Chair. Argentina. Argentina. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Argentina. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Argentina. Argentina. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Argentina. Argentina. Costa Rica. Argentina. 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 Costa Rica. Costa Rica. And Argentina.
We are not going to the vote. We are just going to put Argentina and Costa Rica, and I'm going to pick one, and that's going to be the vice president. We're not going to do
Okay.
it. Just
We have a tie between Argentina and Costa Rica. So at this moment, we will do the following. Yes, please.
At this moment, since we haven't reached majority, and obviously both candidates are liked the same by all of you, we are going to proceed to draw one of the names. We're going to put one name Argentina and one Costa Rica here. I'm going to ask the president to put those two little pieces of paper here, and I'm going to pick one, and that's going to be the vice president.
That's cool. That's cool.
At this moment, I will place one ballot that says Argentina and one ballot that says Costa Rica.
Point.
Yes?
Sorry, I have a question. What do we do in case of a tie? Like, is this in the rules?
Well, Article 78 says that there is a first vote, a second vote, and a third vote taken. But considering that there's a tie, we are taking this measure to choose the vice chair.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, because in the article is in the event that there are more than two candidates at the beginning, let's say that there are 3 or 4, and then there's only the 2 highest voted. But in this case, we started with 2. And if we're going to continue, obviously, we're going to continue on a tie. So.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to clarify.
The box is empty. This ballot says Argentina. It is placed into the box. This ballot says Costa Rica, and it is placed into the box. At this moment, Mrs. Robinson will pick one of them out, and the vice chair will be the one that comes up. Yes, of course. The vice chair of the General Committee will be Argentina. Congratulations. The vice chair will assume the role of vice chair as of right now, so please come to the table. And I would like to clarify also that the vice chair will not assume the position of his country. He has now withdrawn from the position of his country, and he has become the vice chair, which is completely neutral, and he has voice but no vote, as well as all the other MOAS authorities. Yes, of course. There's no thing about that. Now that we have a vice chair, we can proceed with topics in the agenda. The following topic in the agenda is the lecture of instructions for drafting the MOAS declaration. We will announce deadlines for the presentation of these proposals, and at this time delegates will volunteer for the working groups of the MOAS declaration. One of the delegates must remain in the committee to participate in the debate of the draft resolutions. As you know, the draft resolutions of the working groups and the individual ones have not been completed. So I will simply read the rules for the MOAS declaration and take the volunteer delegates that would like to participate in the MOAS declaration, which has to be at least 1/3 of the committee. And after that, we will proceed with the other topics of the agenda. So the Secretary will now read the guidelines for drafting the MOAS declaration.
This is Appendix 6, Guidelines for Drafting the MOAS Declaration. 1. The Model OAS Declaration has been included as one of the agenda items for the General Committee. Thus, all General Committee delegates must have a thorough knowledge of the main theme of the declaration. 2. The Vice Chair of the General Committee is in charge of informing about the process for drafting the declaration and for coordinating the meetings of the working group in charge of the declaration. The Vice Chair of the General Committee will propose, in consultation with the delegations that make up the working group, the drafting procedure and the schedule of meetings of this group. 3. The working group will consist of 1/3 of the participating delegations. However, more delegates can be part of it. The working group will be supported by an OAS specialist. 4, during the working group's first meeting, it will elect one of its members as the group representative and another as its secretary. The secretary will be in charge of drafting, consolidating, and organizing all of the proposals made by each member of the working group. 5, the delegates must propose the clauses for the preamble and for the operative section. A maximum of 3 perspectives related to the theme of the declaration may be included. 6, a consensus must be reached by all members of the working group before the declaration may be presented to the General Committee by the group representative. During this presentation, the delegates from the General Committee will have the opportunity to suggest changes to the document. Those changes must be discussed and implemented, if relevant, during the last meeting of the working group. 7, the declaration will be presented by the representative of the working group during the first plenary session of the MOAS General Assembly. Afterwards, the committee chairs will debate and approve it by consensus.
As per the schedule of events, this concludes the first session of the committees. At this moment, we will move to the second session of committees, which is a little bit delayed because we had to do the process of voting, but the second session of committees begins with general statements by head delegates, delivered according to the order of precedence, which begins with Suriname, and after that we will have caucus, a moderated caucus, so that everyone can work on the resolutions, so that hopefully we can begin with that tomorrow. So we begin the second session of the committees right now, and we'll be here until 5:30. Are there any motions or points on the floor?
Point just of inquiry, are alternates allowed to volunteer for the working groups, or is it just the head delegates?
Yes, well, alternates are, no, for the MOAS declaration, for the declaration, for the MOAS declaration. I believe so, but I will check the rules of procedure. Yes, it says delegates volunteer for the working group. It does not indicate whether they are head delegates or alternates, so in that case, yes. But we will be doing that, well, right now because the vice chair is elected. So, what delegates volunteer to be in the working group to work on the MOAS declaration tomorrow? All delegates that are willing to do this, please raise your hand or raise your placards if you are a head delegate. The secretary, please take note of these delegations. I will call on the ones that are raising their hand, and we'll also call on the ones that are with the placards so that we can know their name and they can work on the MOAS declaration. The MOAS declaration, as explained here, is worked on separately from draft resolutions, so it's also presented in the plenary session, which is the last day of the conference. I will call your once I recognize you, and you can lower your hand. So please raise your hand if you want to work on the MOAS declaration. Yes, please say your name. Here? Can you please speak out and say it again? Bolivia, but your name? Manuel Thomas. Manuel Thomas. Please keep your hand up so I know who to pick. If you want to work on it. Yes. Your name? Did you hear that? Yes? If you would like, you can also approach the microphone so that the secretary can hear it.
Emma Hartley, El Salvador.
Thank you. At this moment, we have 3. We have Manuel Thomas.
Did Brazil raise their hand?
Yes, Brazil, you are recognized. Yes. Andrea, and your last name? Next. Yes, delegate. Yes?
What's the name?
Nobody else?
What? Are you saying Lucia? That is...
We're verifying how many of the committee have to be in it, because we understand that it has to be 1/3, but I will check right now. Considering that some of the members aren't here, that means that it would be 1/3 of 25 delegations that are registered. So we would need 7 or 8 delegations, and we have right now 6. So whoever wants to work on it, please raise your hand. We have 6. Is there anybody else who wants to be included in the MOAS declaration? Paraguay? Oh, Uruguay, sorry. Your name?
Andres Morales.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we will continue this tomorrow, because the MOAS declaration begins tomorrow to be worked on, and hopefully tomorrow we will have the 25 delegations present. So at this moment, we'll continue with the next topic on the agenda. Are there any motions or points on the floor? Delegate of Bolivia, you're recognized.
Motion to start reading the general statement of each state.
That motion is in order. We will begin with the order of precedence, which begins with Suriname, and then it will go in the order after Suriname. So Suriname, you are recognized for your 1-minute opening speech of your delegation.
Thank you so much, Chair. All right, so the delegation of Suriname appreciates the opportunity to present at this session today. We're going to be talking about a lot of issues such as, youth and democracy, and then women's presence in the OAS and in the world, 2 very important issues. So in finding solutions to these problems that plague us, Suriname wishes to cooperate fully with its neighbors in order to foster greater unity in the Americas. Suriname's rapidly growing economy and a continued commitment to democracy and women empowerment make this country a valued asset to its allies, and Suriname hopes to use this conference as an opportunity to further the objectives of the Americas in order to assure the place of the Americas on the global stage in this great era. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of St. Lucia, you are recognized.
Good afternoon. The delegation of St. Lucia warmly welcomes all nations.
Excuse me, wait, one moment.
This way is the next in the alphabet, so Trinidad and Tobago, Uruguay, Venezuela.
Okay, exactly, sorry. The order goes in alphabetical order after St. Lucia, so sorry, you would go last. So the next delegation that is recognized is the delegation of Uruguay.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Uruguay would like to thank all present delegates at this convention for their participation and cooperation, and wishes a very productive and compromising session. Thank you.
Thank you. The next delegation that is recognized is Argentina.
The delegation of Argentina would like to thank the Chair, Vice Chair, Rapporteur, and the other delegations for welcoming this delegation into the General Committee. When one walks into a cafe in Argentina, one will hear the talk of football and politics. We are here today to discuss the latter. The delegation of Argentina looks forward to a riveting debate in this committee. Thank you.
Delegate of Bahamas, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of the Commonwealth of Bahamas would like to welcome all of the other member states as we embark on the exploration of how to deepen our commitment to the fundamental principles of this organization. No longer do we debate the scope of the principles, rather we now face a new set of challenges on how to give a definition to these values. During the General Assembly, the Bahamas would like to revisit the commitment made to gender equality. Currently, over 1/4 of women remain mired in illiteracy and poor educational standards. Recognizing that education is the ticket to future success and earning capacity, the Bahamas will support initiatives that strengthen educational services at the primary and secondary levels. We hope to work in collaboration for a free-flowing and productive exchange of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Bolivia, you have the floor.
The road. First of all, good morning to the Chair and the present delegations. Today is not an ordinary day. Today, November 28, 2012, is a day that will be marked in each one of our delegations, in each one of our states. Today, delegates, we are gathered here for the sole purpose of ensuring happiness in the wide sense of the word of each one of the citizens who make up the American people. That is a real responsibility of a state, to continuously seek the happiness of its people. And we, as representatives, not as leaders of those people, we are obligated to fulfill that mission. We are also here for democracy, an idea so pure that it could not have come from the mind of one person, but found its genesis in the minds of men, and that will only survive if men and women of our beloved continent care this democracy as life itself. This is why we must teach them from their youth to understand and love democracy, which is the greatest gift our history has left us. A story that for many of these countries has been difficult, but that finally have gathered us here fighting for a better continent. Now come to my mind the words of the 1992 Nobel Peace Prize, Rigoberta Menchú. Democracy is not a goal that can be achieved and then pursue other objectives, but a condition that can only be maintained if every citizen advocates. That's what democracy is, not an end, but a way. It's a way to the progress of the continent, which will only be exploited if we have the support of all our people. Let me say unequivocally that the people are the ones who constitute the soul of our beloved continent. Nelson Mandela once stated, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." I think it is the only one, and our continent needs it. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Brazil, you are recognized.
Fellow delegates, Honorable Chair, OAS staff, teachers, observers, on this crisp November evening, the delegation of Brazil is warmed to be amongst your company in this historic hall. Furthermore, our delegates are thrilled to be participating in the coming debates. Here, Brazil is eager to present a resolution along with its partners Uruguay, El Salvador, and the US on the enfranchisement of women entrepreneurs through the channeling of social and impact investments. The next few days are certain to be enriching and thought-provoking, and for this, Brazil would like to thank its fellow delegates in advance and wish them boa sorte. Good luck. Thank you.
Delegation of Canada, you have the floor.
The delegation of Canada is happy to be here at the 31st MOAS. Over the past several weeks, we've been working hard on our resolutions, and we're excited to share them with you over the next few days. We hope to be a proactive part of the MOAS and help to create better resolutions that will benefit the Americas and to promote friendships among our countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Chile, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, fellow delegates. The delegation of Chile is honored to be present at the Organization of American States. As the world becomes more globalized, the OAS will need to work together to promote the well-being of the international community, a goal Chile is proud to support. We would urge this committee to recognize the disparity between men's and women's rights and encourage cooperation with the Inter-American Commission of Women to eliminate this gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Colombia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, all. The delegation of Colombia is proud to be here at the OAS, helping promote human rights throughout our continent. We are excited to work with all the American states in order to pass the appropriate and necessary resolutions to help create a better America. We hope to have a successful 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, I can't see the next delegation. Would you mind? Delegate of Costa Rica, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, President, Vice Chair, and Committee Secretary, and esteemed colleagues. The delegation of the Republic of Costa Rica is delighted to be a part of this General Assembly that strives for democracy, human rights, security, and development, all values which Costa Rica holds true. With our country's long-term democratic government, the delegation is glad that stability has been reached within our borders to provide our people with the rights of representation they deserve. The delegation is content that our country has a 96% literacy rate due to our desire to provide the world with competitive young people that will not only help our country grow, but help the world to prosper in this new era. Freedom of speech and freedom of press should not be compromised in the eyes of the Costa Rican delegation, and no lives should be threatened by what they believe religiously or politically. Furthermore, security should not be utilized to threaten those that surround our borders, but secure our people's rights. Lastly, development is key in this new competitive world of science and technology. We, as the delegation of Costa Rica, strive for democracy, human rights, security, and development, and will therefore support or oppose resolutions accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Ecuador, you have the floor. Okay, sorry. Delegate of El Salvador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of El Salvador would like to thank all the delegates for participating in this year's Model Organization of American States, as well as the people who helped put this conference together. The delegation of El Salvador hopes to foster collaboration, understanding, and accord for this year's session. This delegation is eager to hear the resolutions put forward by the other representatives. El Salvador plans to go into this year's session with an open and receptive mind. The delegation of El Salvador hopes to proceed keeping in mind the principles of democracy, as well as wishing the rest of the delegation success.
Thank you. Delegate of the United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Fellow delegates, the delegation is happy to sit before you all today, representing the proud nation of the United States of America. The delegation welcomes all to the 31st MOAS General Assembly and wishes for a great conference. The United States would like to wish success upon the member states gathered here today and strives to promote the equality and fairness among citizens through diplomacy.
Thank you. Delegate of Guatemala, you have the floor.
Thank you, President and Secretary General. The delegation of Guatemala would also like to thank Mr. Sanin and Mrs. Robinson. The delegation is looking forward to finding efficient, effective methods to promote democratic values among the youth of the Americas through non-conventional hands-on activities, as well as working with other delegations to find ways to strengthen the social and economic status of women by developing entrepreneurial programs in the Americas. Members of the delegation are presenting strategies to increase political participation, initiatives to promote crime prevention programs, and ways to create joint strategies to find new sources of funding for OAS development programs, specifically related to education. The delegation of Guatemala wishes to have successful debate.
Thank you. Delegate of Haiti, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Here at the Model OAS, we hope to progress the countries, their economies, and ultimately the lives of individuals in the hemisphere. Though the Republic of Haiti struggles with poverty, it firmly believes in the spirit of democracy. The delegation of Haiti supports the promotion of human rights throughout the hemisphere, particularly women's rights, as well as promoting democracy in youth. This delegation is honored to be able to represent Haiti in the OAS. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Honduras, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. The delegation of Honduras is proud to be among the representatives of all the member states of the OAS. This assembly provides member states with the opportunity to promote democracy and work to fight the ailments that plague the hemisphere. While the problems affecting one nation may not be the same as those that affect another, it is each member state's duty to cooperate with one another in order to solve the problems facing the hemisphere as a whole. In 2009, Honduras faced a constitutional crisis which resulted in a coup d'etat and the expulsion of Honduras from the OAS. Honduras was reinstated in 2011 after the request of the new president Porfirio Lobo Sosa and a vote of all the member states. Apart from a turbulent political history, Honduras also suffers from the highest intentional homicide rate in the world and devastating poverty. Similar problems affect many other member states, a fact that serves to highlight the importance of this assembly. The delegation of Honduras is glad to be here, as surely much will be accomplished.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Mexico, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Mexico is honored to be here among the schools in Model OAS. An organization, in Ambassador Hernandez's words, is unique because the delegations are able to talk to each other face-to-face to resolve the issues at hand. The delegation of Mexico stands to promote democratic values among the youth, values that all people in the Americas and the world have the right to possess. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Nicaragua, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Nicaragua stands before this General Assembly with a fervent desire to emphasize stress and strains that the smaller economies of the hemisphere have endured due to the current global economic slowdown. While there are signs of improvement, there still remains a need of support for the most vulnerable populations who are having difficulties weathering a storm that is only recently fading, with signs of anemic economic growth. Nicaragua remains steadfastly committed to democracy, but it understands that the shape and form of its institutional framework will often vary from nation to nation. It would be a mistake to impose structural uniformity that does not reflect national and cultural differences. Still, it is imperative to embrace the democratic traditions under the Inter-American Democratic Charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Paraguay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Paraguay would like to greet all of its colleagues and would like to remind all of its colleagues that as debate is like the great game of soccer. As each team member of a soccer team relies on each other for a common goal, so must we to debate, and so we must have a common goal to make this world a better place. We encourage a fruitful debate and that we will all be productive, and that this debate will be as great and as productive and as hopefully enticing as the soccer game. We yield the remaining time to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Peru, you have the floor.
I have a dream, an honorable man once said, and then he changed the course of history in a country. Today, the delegation of Peru wants to share its dream, a dream that involves all the delegations present and united with the goal of collaborating towards the improvement of the hemisphere. This dream consists of an international society where there are more job opportunities, less sexism, a greater awareness in the youth towards pending and developing issues concerning democratic values, and, in general, a peaceful international community. However, to reach this state of peace and tranquility, the international community must first merge and unite as people with common interests and common concerns, whether from the north, from the south, the center, or from the Caribbean islands. All of the nations present are in the perpetual pursuit of a goal, of an idealized dream that seems impossible, the day that American people will wake up and live in a world where peace and democracy prevails. However unattainable this seems, the delegation of Peru firmly believes in persistence, but most importantly, what can be done with persistence, what can be achieved. And that, delegates, honorable chair, special guests, our dreams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the Dominican Republic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of the Dominican Republic would like to welcome all delegates from throughout the member states. The delegation would like to wish all delegations good luck throughout the conference, and we hope that all members have a great experience. The Model OAS Conference is an amazing opportunity for all of us to spread diplomatic and democratic values to the youth throughout the hemisphere. And all delegation members should feel privileged to be here. The Dominican Republic wishes to come to an agreement with the other states in the matter that would most benefit the Dominican Republic. Thank you, and good luck to all on behalf of the representatives of the Dominican Republic.
Thank you. Delegate of St. Lucia, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. The delegation of St. Lucia warmly welcomes all nations to the conference. Again, despite its size, the delegation of St. Lucia has big goals and believes that through effective cooperation, great accomplishments will be made over the next few days. These accomplishments will benefit every member state and their interests. With an abundance of optimism and enthusiasm, the delegation of St. Lucia is elated to be here and eager to make strides towards a brighter future in the Western Hemisphere. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have concluded with the lecture of the general statements by the head delegates. Are there any motions, points or motions on the floor? Delegate of Nicaragua.
Motion for a moderated caucus.
That motion is in order. All those in favor of a moderated caucus until the end of the committee, which is 5:30. All those against? That motion clearly passes. So you are now in a moderated caucus with the purpose of working on the draft resolutions that have to be submitted to the Resolution Evaluation Committee as soon as possible. We have a committee clerk who is right behind, and she will be collecting the draft resolutions once they are done. So once you are done, please inform her that you have finished it, and she will give it to the Resolution Evaluation Committee. Thank you, and please remain here until 5:30. You can begin the moderated caucus. Thank you.